Alex Mercer stood on the rain-glossed overpass, phone vibrating like a pulse he could not quiet. Vivian Cross said, "Choose or Noah vanishes." Thunder stitched the sky while his breath fogged. Alex said, "What do you want from me?" Vivian said, "Deliver Maya Lin, and the city keeps its lights." Eli Ward lingered in the shadows, a rumor with a coat and a plan. Alex said, "Graham Holt told me never to bargain with ghosts." Graham Holt said, "Compromise is currency. Pay it or bleed." The highway roared like judgment, and the screen flashed Noah's trembling face. Alex said, "You touch him, and I scorch your empire." Vivian said, "Tick, tick, hero." Maya Lin waited blocks away, unaware her name had become a trigger. The phone went dead, and the rain felt like a verdict he did not earn. The overpass emptied, leaving only Alex Mercer and the storm's metallic breath. Eli Ward said, "She never bluffs, but she always leaves a door half open." Alex said, "Noah is not a door." Vivian Cross said, "Meet me at Pier 9 with Maya Lin." The message replayed like a curse, and the map pin throbbed red. Graham Holt said, "If you go, you lose ground. If you stall, you lose the boy." Alex pictured the tiny scar on Noah's eyebrow and felt the old failure wake. Maya Lin said, "I have proof, and proof draws bullets." Alex said, "Then I carry you, even if it kills me." The rain eased, and the city listened. Eli Ward said, "I can ghost the pier if you trust me." Alex said, "Trust is the tax on fear." In a diner that smelled of burnt coffee and burnt hopes, Maya Lin waited in a corner booth. Alex Mercer said, "You brought the drive?" Maya Lin said, "Encrypted and ugly." Vivian Cross watched through a camera hidden in the pie display, counting their breaths. Graham Holt said, "If you move her now, sever tails you cannot see." Eli Ward said, "Give me 2 minutes and the lens goes blind." The waitress poured silence with every refill. Maya Lin said, "Why me, Alex?" Alex said, "Because truth is loud and you keep speaking." The clock's hands crawled and guilt crawled faster. The door chimed like a verdict. The door delivered a courier with a white box and a threat tucked under ribbon. Alex Mercer said, "Don't open it." Maya Lin said, "It already opened us." Inside lay a burner phone and a child's blue shoelace. Vivian Cross said, "Proof of life, proof of leverage." Eli Ward said, "Camera dead. We have 30 seconds." Graham Holt said, "Walk out separate, meet 2 blocks east IR." Alex said, "Maya, stay with me." Maya Lin said, "You can't protect both me and Noah if we split wrong." The table shook as a truck passed, and their resolve shook with it. Alex said, "We move now." They burst into the alley where rainwater braided with neon. Alex Mercer said, "Left to the service stairs." Maya Lin said, "You're shaking." Alex said, "I'm choosing." Vivian Cross said, "Pier 9 in 20, or the shoelace becomes a memorial." Eli Ward said, "I placed a car in the dark, keys under the rear tire." Graham Holt said, "If you trade a person for a person, you trade your soul." Alex said, "Then I trade mine and keep his heartbeat." Maya Lin said, "Don't make me a coin." The alley swallowed their footprints, but the night kept count. Pre-dawn bruised the safe house windows. Alex Mercer wrung rain from his sleeves. "Hi." Maya Lin said, "Your plan saves Noah, but it buries me." Alex said, "I will not trade you." Alex said, "Vivian Cross thinks she owns the clock." Graham Holt said, "Justice, without leverage, is prayer in a storm." Eli Ward ghosted the hallway and said, "Routes are mapped, but every exit hums with eyes." Alex touched the blue shoelace and felt the past tighten like a knot. Noah's laugh rang from memory, small as a match. Maya said, "If I vanish, the files die, and Vivian wins twice." Alex said, "Then we publish, and run only once." Graham said, "Publication is a bell you cannot unring." Eli said, "Name the bell, and I will ring it while you move. Alex watched the window fog. Alex said, I am afraid of who I will be when this ends. Morning memory cut through the night as Alex Mercer held a park bench in his mind. Noah Mercer chased a paper plane and laughed at the wind. Maya Lin said, You never told me why you left the bureau. Alex said, I believed truth could walk without guards. Vivian Cross once offered a promotion wrapped in velvet threats. Graham Holt said, I left the choir when the hymn turned to noise. Eli Ward said, Hope is a root, but the map burns fast. Alex knelt in the memory and tied Noah's loose lace. Noah said, You always fix things, Dad. Alex said, I try, and sometimes I break them first. Maya said, We can fix this, but not by hiding. Vivian said, Meet the tide or drown in the harbor. Graham said, Your oath is not a costume. Wear it or drop it. Alex felt the bench splinter under rain that was not there. Eli said, Memory is fuel, not a map. Graham Holt's office smelled of ink and regret as Alex Mercer shut the door against the storm. Graham said, Bring me the drive and I will make it sing in court. Alex said, Court moves in seasons. Vivian Cross moves in hours. Maya Lin said, I cannot be a footnote to my own work. Eli Ward said, The pier has blind corners if you trust my hands. Graham said, Trust his hands, not his luck. Alex traced case files and found old promises pinned like moths. Noah Mercer smiled from a photo, gap-toothed and fearless. Alex said, He believes I can carry oceans. Vivian said, Bring Maya, and your ocean gets ashore. Graham said, The shore is a cliff when the tide is dead. Alex said, Then I climb, even if the rock cuts. Eli said, Climb quiet, and I will catch the stones. Maya said, Do not make a monument of me, make a message. Under a parking garage that hummed like a hive, Alex Mercer spread a city map on the hood. Eli Ward said, Decoy car here, burner tags here, camera blackout in 90 seconds. Maya Lin said, I can run, but I will not run from my name. Alex said, Your name stands, my shadow moves. Vivian Cross said, Pier 9 at dawn, no sirens, no heroes. Graham Holt said, Heroes are people who lost the bargain and kept walking. Alex marked routes with a red pen that looked like blood in the sodium light. Noah Mercer's drawing peeked from his wallet and steadied his hand. Eli said, I built you an exit that bends like smoke. Maya said, Promise you will not choose me over Noah, or Noah over me. Alex said, I promise to choose the truth and to pay the bill. Graham said, Bills come due in flesh or time. The safehouse power flickered as thunder rolled across the city. Alex Mercer said, If I deliver her, Noah breathes. If I don't, he suffocates. Vivian Cross said, Pier 9 is waiting, and so am I. Maya Lin said, If I walk into that pier, the truth dies on the dock. Graham Holt said, Truth sometimes drowns and resurfaces later. Eli Ward said, I can scramble signals for 3 minutes, no longer. Alex pressed Noah's photo against his chest. Noah's voice whispered from memory, You always fix things, Dad. Alex said, I break and I fix in the same breath. Vivian said, Tick, tick, Alex. Maya said, Choose me and Noah still bleeds. Choose Noah, and I am erased. Graham said, There is no clean choice left. Eli said, Only exits painted in shadow. The pier loomed like a broken rib across the bay, fog hugging its planks. Alex Mercer said, Every choice here writes itself in bone. Maya Lin said, Then write me as alive. Vivian Cross said, Ticking, ticking, your shadow is late. Eli Ward crouched near shipping crates, comms wire coiled in his palm. Graham Holt said, Courts will never see this. Only ghosts will. Noah Mercer's voice echoed from the phone. A cough, a sob, then silence. Alex said, You break him, and I burn every harbor you own. Vivian said, Threats taste sweeter than promises. Maya said, If I walk forward, she gets both of us. Eli said, 2 exits are open, but neither leads home. Graham said, home is lost until you lose yourself. Alex's pulse clanged like iron as the fog thickened. Inside a warehouse stacked with rust and echoes, Alex Mercer traced paths through the shadows. Maya Lin said, I will not be bartered. Alex said, you are not currency. Vivian Cross' voice carried over a loudspeaker, everything has value. Graham Holt said, even silence sells. Eli Ward tapped his wristwatch, whispering, 2 minutes until blackout. Alex remembered Noah's hands small against glass, begging with eyes. Vivian said, I do not bluff. I bind. Maya said, if I give her the drive, will you keep Noah? Vivian said, one trade for another, that is balance. Graham said, balance is a scale soaked in blood. Alex said, then let it drown. The steel beams groaned under the weight of choice. The blackout hit like a curtain. Darkness devoured the warehouse. Eli Ward said 90 seconds of shadows. Move. Alex Mercer grabbed Maya Lin's hand, pulse hammering. Vivian Cross said, run fast, little mice. My traps have teeth. Graham Holt whispered, you cannot outpace leverage. Maya said, you cannot drag me if I resist. Alex said, then resist after we breathe free. Sparks snapped as power grids stuttered. Noah's voice returned through static. Dad, I'm cold. Alex said, hold on, son. Vivian said, every second you waste, he withers. Eli said, door left, no cameras alive. Graham said, every exit costs. The dark pressed against their lungs like stone. They burst into alley fog, the city's neon bleeding red and green across wet brick. Vivian Cross's car idled, black and sharp. Vivian said, bring her now, and Noah breathes tonight. Alex Mercer said, you choke me with choice. Maya Lin said, if you give me, you cut the truth from its root. Graham Holt said, truth grows back, but Noah may not. Eli Ward said, I rigged a diversion 3 streets north. Smoke and fire. Vivian said, diversions bore me. Noah's whimper rose from the speaker, cracking Alex's ribs. Alex said, let him go. Vivian said, prove yourself first. Maya said, Alex, do not weigh me like a coin. Alex said, you are not a coin, you are a match. The car's headlights flared, slicing the fog. A rooftop swallowed them, city lights jagged below. Alex Mercer said, I cannot play both sides anymore. Graham Holt said, both sides already played you. Maya Lin said, then pick the side that bleeds less. Vivian Cross' voice rose from a hidden speaker. Every choice sharpens me. Eli Ward scanned the skyline and said, drones inbound, 3 minutes. Alex gripped the ledge, rain slick under his hands. Noah's laugh whispered from memory, alive against the silence. Alex said, he deserves tomorrow even if I lose mine. Vivian said, then carve tomorrow with betrayal. Maya said, choose betrayal and I will never forgive you. Graham said, forgiveness is a myth, survival is real. The night air stank of ozone and endings. Lightning shattered the skyline as Vivian Cross revealed her truth. Vivian said, Noah was never my hostage. He is with my allies, safer than with you. Alex Mercer froze, rage and relief twisting. Maya Lin said, you lied to bend him. Graham Holt said, every cage is painted different colors. Eli Ward whispered, this was never about Noah, it was about you, Alex. Vivian said, you carry the drive, the guilt, the choices. I only carry leverage. Alex said, you turned me into my own prison. Noah's voice replayed from memory, pure and unbroken, reminding him of what was real. Maya said, if she does not hold him, then who does? Vivian smiled, rain sliding off her coat. Vivian said, the truth sits with your ally, not your enemy. Alex's breath caught. Ali meant betrayal. The warehouse filled with echoes as Graham Holt's face cracked with guilt. Graham said, I took Noah to keep him safe from Vivian. but I made him bait. Alex Mercer staggered, betrayal a blade in his chest. Maya Lin said, "You, the mentor, the guide, and now the betrayer." Vivian Cross laughed, her echo bouncing. Eli Ward said, "I suspected, but proof is poison." Graham said, "Vivian wanted you broken, and I thought fear would push you to fight." Alex said, "You became the same wolf you warned me about." Noah's photo slipped from Alex's pocket, water warping the paper. Graham said, "I failed my oath long ago, and I will not let you fail yours." Vivian said, "You trusted him, and he sharpened you with lies." Alex said, "No more lies. Truth burns, but I will burn with it." The truth spread like wildfire. Alex Mercer said, "Noah is not lost to Vivian, but to Graham's betrayal." Graham Holt said, "I kept him safe, though my safety is stained." Maya Lin said, "Safety without trust is captivity." Vivian Cross said, "And captivity breeds strength for me." Eli Ward said, "Then the enemy was sitting in your circle." Graham said, "I did not act for myself. I acted for your survival." Alex said, "My survival is worthless without trust." Noah's laughter rang in memory, bright against storm. Vivian said, "Your war was always with yourself, not me." Alex said, "You wanted me to fall, but I will not fall into silence." Maya said, "We have to free Noah, not fight over blame." Graham said, "Then take me as your Judas and walk past me." The storm wailed like a witness. On the pier, Vivian Cross lit a cigarette as if storms bowed to her. Vivian said, "Alex, your Ali's knife was sharper than mine." Alex Mercer said, "Every betrayal has a teacher, and you wrote the lesson." Maya Lin said, "We stand at a board with no erasers." Eli Ward said, "The smoke screen is ready. Use it or lose him." Graham Holt said, "I can still fix this, let me trade myself." Alex said, "You already traded my trust." Vivian said, "Sacrifice him, save the boy." Poetic. Maya said, "Poetic is another word for cruel." Alex felt Noah's laugh in his chest, fragile but alive. Eli said, "Decision time." The waves slammed, and lightning traced scars across the sea. Alex said, "If betrayal is currency, then I pay my debt now." The rooftop again, storm a crown of fire. Alex Mercer said, "I know now. Betrayal sits not just in enemies, but in allies." Graham Holt said, "My failure carved the lesson." Vivian Cross said, "Lessons taste better when blood seasons them." Maya Lin said, "Truth survives lies, but people rarely do." Eli Ward said, "Drone shadows sweep closer. We must vanish or burn." Alex said, "Noah deserves my truth, even if it kills me." Graham said, "Take my life and buy his tomorrow." Vivian said, "Such noble currency." Maya said, "No, Alex, betrayal ends if you break the chain." Alex said, "Then tonight, I choose the way to betrayal, not its gift." Thunder cracked, splitting their fates open. The storm bore witness to revelation. The storm's heart roared as Alex Mercer faced Vivian Cross on the pier. Vivian said, "One step with Maya Lin, and Noah breathes." Alex said, "You twist air into knives." Maya Lin said, "If you give me, you bleed more than Noah." Graham Holt said, "My blood can patch this wound." Eli Ward said, "The smoke can cover 10 seconds, no more." Vivian smiled, her eyes fire against the rain. Alex said, "You want my surrender, not my son." Vivian said, "I want your soul bent toward me." Maya said, "I am not a sacrifice." Graham said, "Then let me be." Alex's chest rattled with memory, Noah's laugh, Noah's hope. Alex said, "If the cost is betrayal, then I will write it myself." Lightning carved the harbor, white hot and merciless. Alex Mercer lifted the drive, its casing glinting in lightning. Vivian Cross said, "Hand it, and Noah wakes tomorrow." Maya Lin said, "If you give her the drive, truth drowns." Graham Holt said, Give her me instead an old man's life for a boy's. Eli Ward said, choose now or everything burns. Alex said, the drive holds her empire. My son holds my heart. Vivian said, hearts break, empires bend. Maya said, do not shatter one to save the other. Alex whispered, Noah, forgive me. Graham said, forgiveness does not live here. Vivian extended her hand, calm as death. Alex's pulse thundered, storm sensing with his breath. Betrayal sat in his palm like fire. The drone screamed across the sky, searchlights tearing fog. Eli Ward said, they're here. Vivian Cross said, give me the drive before they burn us all. Alex Mercer said, if I choose wrong, no one walks away. Maya Lin said, the truth is louder than death. Graham Holt said, but Noah is softer than truth. Vivian said, and softness breaks. Alex felt the drive's weight double with each second. Lightning exposed his tears. Alex said, this ends now. He hurled the drive into the storm. Vivian gasped, claws of fury snapping. Maya said, you burned the bridge. Alex said, better no bridge than a poisoned one. Graham whispered, God help us. The drones descended, their shadows vast and merciless. Vivian Cross screamed into the storm, her empire bleeding into the sea. Vivian said, you fool, you killed your son. Alex Mercer said, Noah lives if truth lives. Maya Lin said, he chose us both. Graham Holt said, he chose betrayal, but not of us, of her. Eli Ward triggered the smoke, a gray veil swallowing the pier. Vivian fired a signal flare, scarlet against clouds. Alex said, if Noah breathes, you lost. If he doesn't, I carry that weight. Vivian said, you cannot carry it forever. Maya said, then we carry it with him. The storm crashed, waves hammering the dock. Graham said, a choice is a grave. Tonight you dug one. Alex whispered, I dug mine, not his. The smoke cloaked them like ghosts. On the rooftop escape, smoke rising below, Alex Mercer fell to his knees. Alex said, I chose the truth and betrayed survival. Maya Lin said, you chose life over lies. Graham Holt said, and you chose against me. Vivian Cross' voice echoed from the storm. This is not an ending, only a scar. Eli Ward said the drones retreat. For now, you bought minutes, not peace. Alex pressed Noah's photo to his chest, trembling. Alex said, Noah, forgive me if I lost you. Maya said, we will find him, your choice did not erase him. Graham said, your son will know his father burned for him. Alex said, I burned because I refused her chain. Lightning split the sky, sealing his vow. The storm hushed, but silence cut sharper. The storm dissolved into dawn haze as Alex Mercer walked a ruined street. Maya Lin said, the city still breathes, but we are hunted now. Alex said, hunted or free, Noah waits for me somewhere. Graham Holt trailed behind, his shoulders bent under guilt. Graham said, I broke the trust, but I can still mend the path. Eli Ward scanned rooftops and muttered, eyes linger, we cannot linger here. Vivian Cross' face appeared on digital billboards, her smile a warning. Vivian said, heroes fail, villains adapt. Alex said, she lost the drive, but not her shadow. Maya said, truth survived in memory, not in files. Alex touched Noah's photo, its corners soft with wear. Alex whispered, I walk forward, even if it breaks me. The sun rose pale, a weak torch against the wreckage. They sheltered in a crumbling church, candles flickering like broken vows. Maya Lin said, truth does not need a drive, it needs a voice. Alex Mercer said, then we speak it until it hurts. Graham Holt said, my voice is cracked, but I will lend it. Eli Ward bolted the doors and said, whispers travel faster than bullets if we seed them right. Vivian Cross laughter echoed in Alex's mind, like stained glass shattering. Alex said, Her power is built on silence, so we break silence. Maya said, but what if breaking it costs Noah? Alex said, then he will know I fought for a world he can live in. Graham bowed his head, a prayer not to God but to memory. The wax dripped, time bleeding slowly. In a safe house basement, Alex Mercer spread papers, fragments of truth, save. Maya Lin said, we can leak this piece by piece, burn her fortress brick by brick. Alex said, leaks are drops. I want a flood. Graham Holt said, floods drown saints and sinners. Eli Ward said, drones will trace any signal. We need human mouths, not wires. Vivian Cross sent a message on every hacked screen. You cannot kill what you cannot see. Alex slammed the table, his eyes hollow. Alex said, then we make her visible. Maya said, Noah will see us fight, even if he never sees us win. Graham whispered, children remember the fire, not the ashes. Alex said, then let my fire burn bright enough for him to remember. The room quaked, as if agreeing. Night returned, bringing silence heavier than thunder. Alex Mercer stood on a rooftop, the city stretched below. Maya Lin said, do you regret it? Alex said, regret breathes with me, but so does resolve. Graham Holt stepped closer, his face carved with confession. Graham said, you will never forgive me, but perhaps Noah might. Eli Ward scanned the horizon and said, Vivian's reach shrinks, but cornered beasts strike hardest. Vivian Cross' voice drifted from a hijacked radio. The boy is fine. The father is broken. Alex clutched the radio, his jaw tight. Alex said, broken bends, but broken also cuts. Maya said, you fight not just for him, but for everyone watching. The stars blinked cold, silent witnesses to a war of shadows. Dawn cracked again, gentler this time. Alex Mercer walked alone on a deserted pier. Alex said, every choice carves scars, but scars speak. Maya Lin's voice echoed behind him, your scars speak louder than silence. Graham Holt said, my scars speak only of failure. Eli Ward said, failure still teaches. Vivian Cross appeared in headlines on discarded papers, her empire splintering. Alex said, Noah will know I fought, even if he knows nothing else. Maya said, he will know because I will tell him. Graham said, and I will bear the blame that gave him breath. Alex stood at the water's edge whispering, son, I did not save you clean, but I saved you true. The tide carried his words into horizon light. The city exhaled after nights of storm, but Alex Mercer felt no calm. He stood in a quiet square where pigeons pecked at rain-streaked stone. Maya Lin said, truth now walks free, even if Noah is still hidden. Alex said, free truth does not free my son. Graham Holt said, your son will know your fire kept him alive. Eli Ward said, Vivian bleeds, yet her shadow lingers. Vivian Cross, a voice from a passing screen, said, scars remind you I never leave. Alex said, scars teach me how to fight without chains. Maya touched his arm gently. Maya said, then scars are not curses, they are guides. Alex whispered, Noah, one day you will see the man I tried to be. The pigeons scattered as if carrying his words skyward. A narrow alley swallowed them, sunlight slicing through cracks. Alex Mercer said, I dreamed of Noah laughing. Maya Lin said, dreams are the bridges between scars and hope. Graham Holt said, hope is not free, but you earned it. Eli Ward said, dreams keep fugitives alive longer than guns. Vivian Cross' shadow appeared on a graffiti wall, her name crossed out in red paint. Alex touched the wall and whispered, I will not stop until I find you, son. Maya said, your fight is not over, but it is no longer alone. Graham said, my betrayal still stains me, but I will help you clean the world. Alex smiled faintly, his first in days. The sunbeam cut sharper, guiding him forward. At a train station, departures hummed. Alex Mercer watched strangers reunite. Alex said, every embrace reminds me of what I lost. Maya Lin said, "Loss does not erase you, it sharpens you." Graham Holt said, "Every departure is a confession of what we cling to." Eli Ward scanned platforms, voice low, eyes still follow us. Vivian Cross' face flickered on a digital sign. Choices define graves and crowns. Alex muttered, "You will not crown me, Vivian." Maya said, "You already wear a crown, one forged in pain." Alex said, "Then Noah will wear freedom, not chains." The whistle of a train cut the air, promising escape or chase. The choice to board or to fight remained etched in Alex's trembling hand. On a windswept hill outside the city, Alex Mercer stared at the horizon. Alex said, "I once believed betrayal ended stories. Now I see it begins them." Maya Lin said, "Beginnings are built on wounds and will." Graham Holt said, "And on the courage to walk again." Eli Ward said, "The city is not safe, but the road is open." Vivian Cross' voice whispered from a discarded phone, "You will never silence me." Alex hurled the phone into the grass. Alex said, "You are noise, not truth." Maya said, "Noah's laughter will be louder." Graham nodded, his eyes damp. Eli said, "Then let's move before the silence breaks again." Alex turned his face to the rising sun, a vow carved in light. The final silence settled in an abandoned playground. Alex Mercer sat on a swing, Noah's photo in his hand. Alex said, "This war took my soul, but I still breathe for you." Maya Lin said, "One day he will sit here with you." Graham Holt said, "And he will hear both your truth and my failure." Eli Ward said, "When that day comes, scars will become stories." Vivian Cross' voice whispered faintly on the wind, "I am still here." Alex said, "Then stay, because I will never stop fighting." He looked skyward, whispering, "Noah, this is not goodbye. This is a promise." The swing creaked, the dawn light breaking fully, etching his vow into the day. The story ended, but the echo remained.